I'll call this work session to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You go right into one. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay, thanks, Jim.
Okay. First on the agenda is the veterans exemptions. We discussed it, I guess, 2 weeks ago, and Judith is here to just finalize it, update it so we can get it done.
Okay. So the veterans exemptions used to have, there's 3 different categories. There's the wartime, the combat, and the disability. So there are 3 different categories. And then within there, each one has a different income level or exemption level. Back in 2016, there was a law that was passed that allowed municipalities to increase those levels. And we can now increase it from being 54,000 to 75,000 and 36,000 to 50,000 and 180,000 to 250,000. So, we have the option to increase those levels and limits if we'd like. So if that's something we want to do, we can absolutely do that.
Mhm. Great. And it's not a big shift of the burden. That's every time the amount we take from the taxpayer is sort of constant within a year. So if one taxpayer is paying a little less, the other taxpayers pay a little bit more. That's a clearer thing.
Mhm.
But there's actually not that many people that take advantage of this. Depending on which exemption you're talking about, it's 40 for one category, it's in the 70s for another category.
Yeah.
So it's not a big shift. That's what I'm saying. We're not asking a lot of the other taxpayers of Shelter Island to say thank you to our vets.
And what's the procedure?
Yes.
The procedure, I believe we need to have a resolution passed.
No, I mean to apply for it.
Oh, to apply for it. You can apply for it in our office. There are exemption
Okay.
forms online for you to fill out, and you come into our office with a DD 214, which is the form that says you served in the military, and bring that in and we can sign you up.
And if you're already signed up, this will automatically be adjusted for
Yes.
the next roll,
Yes.
not this roll.
So we'll
Not
go
this
for
roll,
2023.
Right.
2024,
24.
because
Okay.
right now we're working on the 2023 roll,
Gotcha.
and the taxable status date was March 1st.
Right.
So it won't be, I don't think we can do anything this year. It would have to be for the following year, for
Okay.
2024.
Okay, any questions?
Do you think no, I don't even think it's probably not worth sending a letter out to everybody because they really don't have to do anything.
They don't have to do anything. No, it's just the levels will be increased on our end, and that would be it.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you very much.
Say again. Oh, these are, and she corrected herself, but it's not income. What happens is if you got a house worth, say, 500,000, which nobody does, but if you did, and you were the maximum amount here, 250,000 of that 500,000 literally would not be taxed. Okay,
Mhm.
so you
Mhm.
just,
Just exempt.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it's an exemption
Yeah.
that reduces your assessed value depending on and let me just also say, who gets that higher number? A fully disabled vet.
Mhm.
And we have when I was there, it was a handful literally of people. But let me just say that again, a fully disabled vet.
Mhm.
So, and lower from there.
And there is actually a new fully disabled veterans exemption as well,
Yeah.
in addition to this,
Yeah.
because these ones are wartime and combat related.
Right.
The other one, I don't know the law that well yet because it's brand new, but there is a new one available as well.
Great.
Okay,
Judith, thank you very much.
you're welcome.
Thanks, Judith.
Okay, the next agenda item is business on town. Oh, let's wait for Jim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, next agenda item is business on town property, the permitting process. We've kind of touched on this a little bit. Currently, we allow 4 businesses on Crescent Beach. We've had the food truck, we've had the massage tent, we've had the rentals of the paddle boards, and we've had the launch. And it's kind of been pretty consistent who's applied. This year, we seen a couple more applications come in. The kayak, Shelter Island kayaks also applied. Those were the 5 we've had, 4 at Crescent Beach and 1 in different locations. The way this question started to come up was we had more than one person apply for the launch business.
Mhm.
And we have no procedure in place for what do we do if we get multiple applications for the same position. So that's one thing we have to put in place, how we're going to do that. The other is, what kind of businesses do we want on town property? We have another application for someone to set up a tent on Crescent Beach and sell handbags.
It's a permanent trailer.
Okay,
They wanted to use 2 parking spaces to park a trailer.
well,
just to
that's
say.
not, yeah.
Right.
It's even bigger. in
So
that.
that obviously that part wouldn't happen, use the parking spaces. Because when we did the food truck, we moved them to the end and,
Yeah.
we adjusted. But, so do we want retail sales as a potential business as opposed to, the activities that we do?
Yeah.
But the massage isn't really an activity.
I think it should be beach related. Again, massage, that's sort of historical. We didn't. But I think it should be beach related.
Right.
And what is that? That's eating. You're at the beach. You don't want to get all.
Well, what if somebody says they want to sell sunglasses?
Mm, mm.
I
True. And sunscreen.
You can draw a hard line at retail, like
Yeah.
non.
I mean, because these are services.
Oh,
Yeah,
non-food retail.
Non-food
Yeah.
retail is prohibited, and then you allow the food and the services. And if there was one service that's always been there, applied season after season, and no one's asking to provide that same service, they just apply, give them their permit, they pay their fee, whatever, get their insurance. But my suggestion is, if there's 2 people that are vying for the same service, then you open up for requests for proposals to the public generally. That would be the trigger.
Mhm.
And then you can, put it out to the world, and you could see who's going to pay the most, who's going to offer the best service, and there's some competition there. But that's one way you can handle it.
And are we obligated to take the highest bid?
No, because you could have the highest bid, and then you do a
Background
Google
check, so to
search,
speak.
and
Right.
see that they have terrible ratings and terrible
Right.
reviews.
Mhm.
You're not married to the highest.
Yeah,
Can
and I
we,
think the other thing we have here, the other benefit is that of the 4 people down at Crescent Beach, the supervisor and the staff normally solicit some type of feedback at the end of the season on how it's been going. And actually not at the end of the season, throughout the season. So we constantly get feedback on a service like a launch where safety is of utmost importance. And we would have put it out to bid, and 2 launch companies came in, and one came in at 2,000, and one came in at 1,700. If the person at 2,000 had been servicing us for an extended period of time, had a clean track record with good feedback, I would have a tendency to want to stay with that same person. Again, if they were $300 less, let's say they were at 1,700 and somebody said, no, I'll outbid them at 2,000. We know what we've got with the $1,700, for that person. And, that has to mean something to me. In terms of the feedback I'm getting from people around the island, the handbag, that kind of thing, they absolutely do not want to see this at Crescent Beach.
Well,
We have places on the island
Right.
that do this, that you want to go and buy these kinds of things, whether it's sunglasses or anything else. We have places on the island. We're not looking to, it's tough enough to run a business here on the island. I don't think in any way, shape or form, we should try to, allow this kind of stuff.
Well, kind of what you're saying, similar to that we have someone who has a history, that should be a factor weighed.
Yes. a fact.
Also, I think it also, if someone has a brick and mortar shop. I mean, I'm speaking clearly, there's only one right now, and that's the Islander. But I think that means something,
Yeah.
that you are literally anchored here, and servicing the community, in this case, year round. And I think that should have some weight, whatever we decide that should be.
I agree.
The other thing is, back to the launch, Jim, there is a Coast Guard license
Yes.
process.
Yes. Yep.
So there's that, and there are boats so you can be licensed to have a 6-pack license, but then the boat can be a Coast Guard approved
Certified.
launch.
Right.
And I don't know if we want to go if we've gone that far, or what we have down there. I really don't know. But I
I think the
wonder,
ones that we've had,
are Coast Guard approved launches?
yeah, I think last year's problem was he couldn't find help.
Yeah.
And it was all last minute, getting somebody.
Right.
And just so,
But all good points. I
Yeah.
agree with them.
just to backtail a little bit on Jim, last year when the massage team came up, I mean, I was really against it.
Yeah.
Kind of cognizant of that.
Yeah.
When the guy made his presentation, he said, this will be my 16th year in business.
Yeah.
That's where he had me.
Yeah.
I know, because when I first moved here, Eric Von Kopp said to me, because if there's a need for a business, it's here.
Yeah.
If that guy's been here for 15, 16 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So. All right. So
And it's used. I mean, to be honest with you,
Yeah.
these are businesses that are thriving and they seem to be popular to the public,
Right.
both for the people staying at Sunset Beach and for the public at large on
Oh, yeah.
Shelter Island.
I
So
know people who
they're,
use the
yeah.
massage. Yeah.
absolutely.
So what's next steps here for us?
we extended the applications till March 31st.
Okay.
So as soon as those come in, we'll
We'll
put them
review
on the agenda and
Do we review them publicly?
yes.
Yeah, I think we should. But I agree with Stephen too. If we end up getting 2 or 3 launch services, then obviously that there's a procedure that must be established that we must go through, and factor in all the things that we talked about factoring in, but
And this hard line against retail, do we have to put that in some sort of code or we just?
It could be a policy, or we can do a code amendment in the
Mhm.
applicable section.
Mhm.
But obviously, given, public notice requirements and stuff like that, it might not be ready. So we could do it as a policy.
Okay.
And we'll put your procedure on paper, and I'll work with Christina, and we'll just give that to the board for, and make it available to the public, so everybody knows what's going on.
Okay.
And again,
the last element here for Megan and for BJ,
Mhm.
the criticism that we're getting most often received was about what we were charging.
Mhm.
We're talking revenues, and we're what, $150, $200 for the season?
Yeah.
Is that a day or a week? Oh, that's for the season.
I think we went up to 250 last year.
So I would say that as we look at this going forward, you have 4 businesses that bring in $1,000, but
Is it too late for the season or what do you think?
no, I
No,
think
we didn't.
No.
you think
We
you,
didn't go over them.
again, we're not looking to get rich quick on it, but on the same token, it should be something that's just fair,
Yeah.
Right.
Well, we have expenses at that specific beach. And we
Just
maintain a
cleaning the beach
bathroom.
and keeping it.
Yeah,
maintained.
keeping the beach clean. I mean, all of that helps their business.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. All right, so we won't talk about that again till the after the deadline, March 31st. Next on the list is the creating the community housing fund. This is something Stephen's been working on. This has to do with the legislation going forward for the referendum in November for community housing.
Thank you.
Stephen?
Yes, so just to reiterate that a condition preceding to us putting the community housing supplementary transfer tax up for a referendum is that we have this fund. It's not the plan, it's the fund. So that's why this is urgent, because we wouldn't even be able to put it up for a referendum if we don't have this fund. I put this matter onto the agenda today, not to really get into the substance of the law yet, but rather provide you with a timeline. So today, March 15th, 22nd, this is the work session to introduce the Community Housing Fund timeline, which I provided to the board. On March 29th, 2022, I believe at that work session, we should formally introduce the Community Housing Fund proposed local law to the town board. Because in the interim, I'll have time to meet with the CHB and the CHAB. And then I would like them to participate in that work session. So then from there, April 8th, 2022, the town board meeting will occur to set the public hearing on the Community Housing Fund. If you're ready, after, you may need another work session, but if you're ready at that point. Then on April 29th, 2022, we could schedule the public hearing and have that public hearing. Now, that fund becomes law once it's filed with the Secretary of State. And then that's the trigger. Now we can put it up for referendum. On May 17th, 2022, I believe we should have a work session to formally introduce the community housing transfer tax, again, by members of the CHB and the CHAB.
Mhm.
On May 21st, 2022, the town board meeting should occur to set the public hearing on the community housing transfer tax. On June 10th, 2022, we should have the town board meeting for the public hearing on that community housing transfer tax.
This is to get it on the ballot?
This is to get it on the ballot. And the law states that you have to have it at least 60 days prior to the vote. So we meet that with more than enough time. And then the transfer tax ultimately will be filed with the Secretary of State, and then it's going to be permitted to be on the ballot. And then November 8th, 2022 is when the referendum will be on the ballot to be voted up or down. If the community housing transfer tax referendum is successful, and I think the town board should really take the lead on this with the bully pulpit and push the importance of it. It'll be one of the most important revenue streams for a community housing fund, as it's continuous. It continually replenishes the fund. It should also be noted that the community housing plan must be completed and adopted by a local law before any monies can be taken out of the community housing fund. Okay, so that's another step that we have to do. So I know you've already charged, we've created the Community Housing Advisory Board. They're charged with developing the plan. We'll talk about this at the next work session about the Community Housing Fund, but within our local law that we're going to adopt are some guideposts that the Community Housing Advisory Board have to adhere to in preparing and recommending a plan.
Okay,
Sounds good.
any questions?
Well, yeah, if I just sort of tangential to this, but really wrapped up with this, the RFPs for the environmental studies that we have to do.
Yes, so
Yeah.
I've
Where
been
are we?
working with Christine on that.
Yeah.
And we just got it to Joe. Joe reviewed them, made some comments. He emailed me this morning. So we want to get that done as soon as possible as
Right.
well. So I could bring it on. It'd definitely be open for discussion at the next work session.
Great, because that's for the TDRs, right?
Yes, that's for the TDR program, which is
Right.
another facet to our global community housing
Which we have, yeah, we really,
Yeah.
every,
strategy.
yeah, and some purchases are coming,
So we should put that on for,
next Tuesday's work session.
or the 29th, when we're gonna introduce the,
Yeah,
let's put
yeah,
it on
well,
for the
let's follow
29th.
this timeline. It's
Yeah,
a great
yeah.
timeline.
Yeah.
No,
Very
wait,
good.
Piggyback
well,
with
this
the-
is kind of a little separate though, right? RFPs.
Yeah, well, yes. So the TDR program would allow us to
They need
Um,
they need to be.
it's part of the overall strategy, because at the end of the day, the TDR program allows you to increase density
Mhm.
for community housing potential communities. So it is part of the overall global strategy. But it doesn't necessarily have to hold to this timeline.
Right.
But so we can put it on for the next work session if you want.
I think,
I would say put it on
If
for when
it's-
they're here.
who
yeah.
they, oh,
I mean, the
Community
housing
housing.
people.
oh, all right.
That's fine.
That's the only reason I thought
Because
of
then they
Alright.
can talk about
Yeah.
both at the same time.
Yep.
Yeah.
6, 7, 8.
Makes sense.
And we are also talking about whether or not we're going to do a community housing needs assessment RFP separate and distinct from this one, or try to shoehorn it
Right.
into this RFP.
it. Mhm. Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah, so one of the things that my question or comment is, between May 17th and November 8th, you have roughly a little shy of 6 months to prepare the town for a vote. So are we instructing the Community Housing Board and the Community Housing AB to get started on this now in terms, we know how the town board feels about the housing issue. But we need to be fully prepared that when May and June come around, you have a finite amount of time during the summertime here to be able to build a voice of why we feel that this is important. Again, you can anticipate where you're going to be attacked from and the hurdles that you're going to have to cross. So I just don't want to wait for that to happen and then start stumbling around in July and August on how we get our ducks in order to address these concerns. And I think the most important thing here is the scaling of community housing. I think people are going to envision that, wow, 2023 comes, this vote goes through, there's going to be a tremendous amount. No, folks, it's going to be phased in over the course of time. and it'll be evaluated as we move forward. I think that's got to just be carefully thought out. And there's got to be some type of real good plan put forward so that people don't hit the panic button and start the negative campaigning in late spring and fight it all summer long when people and all the stuff that we're going to read about in the papers of why we shouldn't have community housing here on Shelter Island, when every other East End community has already launched major work in the name of community housing, and we're lagging a little bit behind here. So it's just something up to
Jim, I think the housing board has already started putting together their schedule of how they're going to,
Okay.
Propose it and
It's just about
publicize it.
information.
Yes.
Right.
Informational meetings.
Right.
Yeah.
From my point of view,
Yes,
Right.
that
But
the
you're
more
right,
you
it has to
know,
be a
the more you know. the
Organized
more-
campaign,
it does.
just like the original 2% was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So their first community outreach is, I believe, this weekend at the library. They're doing an info session on housing and what's coming up. I'm trying to find the exact information at the
Yeah, that
moment.
would be great.
But they're already starting
All right.
that process.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, if you could let us know, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I'll find
Yes,
it.
sir.
Well, wait, Chair,
No questions?
no.
And,
At the
and
end.
Pat, can we hold this to the end?
Excuse me?
Can we hold the questions till the end?
Oh, it's a very short one, but okay. You want to do that?
Yeah, no, it's just we adopted those new rules for the meeting, so we're just trying to stick to them.
consistency.
Okay. Okay, next on the agenda is the Title VI Plan Non-Discriminatory Policy. This is Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. No person in the United States shall, on the grounds of race, color, or national origin, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. Stephen, why we?
Yeah, well, number one, in and of itself, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
To adopt. But the impetus for this was a grant we're seeking. It's the New York State DOT 5310 grant. It's a request for operating support, which includes part-time drivers, fuel, ferry fees, and vehicle maintenance expenses for a 2-year period. So in order for us to receive federal monies, we have to have this plan in effect. So we've prepared a plan that, like, the DOT has a form plan on their website. The town of Southampton has adopted it. So we have followed suit and we have a similar plan. So basically it's geared towards protecting town residents and other beneficiaries of our federally funded programs and services. So it sets up a complaint procedure whereby if, again, we get $1 million coming to us and we keep giving it to one particular segment of the community, then we have now a complaint procedure regarding that. And it's quite broad. It's not just, race, color, national origin. It's also gender, age, income, disability, or limited ability to speak English. They have ability to make a complaint. I just want to read what our policy statement would be. And this is proposed. If you don't want to go with it, that's fine. But it's a policy of the town of Shelter Island to prevent and eliminate discrimination on the basis of race, color, sex, national origin, age, marital status, disability, sexual orientation, parental status, family medical history, or genetic information, political affiliation, military service, limited English proficiency, or any other non-merit-based factor in any and all of its operations and services, as well as all aspects of employment. It is also the policy of this town to administer all phases of its personnel activity, including recruitment, hiring, placement, upgrading, training, promotion, transfer, separation, recall, compensation, benefits, education, recreation, and all other conditions or privileges of employment without regard to the aforementioned protected groups of persons. So our policy not only is for recipients and beneficiaries of federally funded programs, but also to everyone that works within the town. The town assures that no person shall be excluded from participation and be denied benefits of, or otherwise be subjected to discrimination or retaliation under any program or activity as provided. The town is a governmental agency that requires government contractors to take affirmative action to employ and advance their employment qualified minorities, women, persons with disabilities, and disabled veterans and veterans of Vietnam era. The town further assures that every effort will be made to ensure that non-discrimination in all of its programs, activities, regardless of whether those programs are directly receiving federal funding or assistance. So that's basically what it is. And again, the grant application is due to be filed on the 21st of March. So if we are going to go forward with that, we would need to adopt this plan at the special meeting after this work session.
Okay.
Okay. Kind of surprised we have to adopt this. This is like you would assume
Yeah,
you
we're-
have to do it.
right. And why now? Like, why did we adopt this in 1968? Is this something that was being done, like, by state, on the local level?
Well, it's always, the carrot that the feds try to, make municipalities do. I think
Oh,
in some
okay.
degree we have already,
Yeah.
but we haven't done it as robust and
Formal,
global.
right.
Right.
Because we do have anti-discrimination. I
Sure.
believe it's in the code already.
Right.
And then also we have policies to that effect.
Right.
And so some of this is redundant. We have it already,
Yeah.
but it's more in kind with what they expect from on the federal side. So it's more broad.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, my only comment on it was that the way it reads, the grant should not be, it is not should be the stimulus of why we're doing what we're doing here. This is 2022. And as BJ was just saying, 1968, we've come a long way. And these are just solid principles that every good municipality should have in place, regardless of whether you're requesting money or not requesting money. It's just, in fairness, this is the way life needs to be in America, so strongly support this, even outside the fact that, we're required to do something in order to qualify for, some type of grant monies. This is just something that is long overdue and needed. But I'm glad you've mentioned that I think the town has, if you take a look at the existing town code, and I saw Bob shaking his head over there, that a lot of this stuff already does exist, which it's one thing to have it exist, and it's another thing to have it implemented and enforced. So that's something that's.
Stephen, the only question I have on page 10, organization and staffing. Stephen Kiley serves as a town Shelter Islands Title VI coordinator. Should that be the town attorney? Or should it be specific to you or to?
It's specific, and then you just amend it when I leave.
Okay,
I'm hopeful I'll be here forever.
right.
Okay.
Okay.
But no, yeah. So whenever the next town attorney comes in,
Gotcha. Okay.
I mean, this has always been the law of the land. So you have to comply.
Bob, you have to come to the
Mike.
microphone.
Yeah, this has always been the law of the land, so you have to comply with it anyhow.
Yeah.
But recently, the federal government has gotten more involved in basically requiring people to create plans to deal with it and how they're going to implement it. So that's sort of the difference, is that it's always been the law, but now they want you to actually put something together.
Okay.
yeah, and we have, it's in the town code, Article 3, policy against discrimination. And again, that's more, towards employees. And this broadened it to the general public. And again, it's just another, we have, complaint procedures, but this is really specific to any of this type of discrimination. And now we have a procedure for that.
Okay. Good, thank you. So what's the next step with that?
At the
Oh, we're gonna, okay, the special meeting.
special meeting,
Yeah.
there's a resolution
Yep.
prepared adopting the plan.
Okay, the next, you have on Oyster Project Site Alternatives. This is a discussion we had 2 weeks ago, last week.
Last week.
With
Last week, yeah.
Cornell Cooperative Extension regarding this oyster reef project. We had a discussion about where we can do it, we can do it on CPF property, what we can do. So BJ's come up with some
So you-
possible alternatives.
I thought the best alternative would be Dickerson Park,
Mhm.
down, it's just kind of a little bit out of the way. I want to,
Christina, can you put that up?
I found it on GIS and I gave you all guys a physical map of it.
Yep.
I was trying to pull, but I think I pulled the wrong, I'm sorry about that. I think I pulled the wrong deeds. But I can double check. Anyway, I think one of these properties transferred in 1981 to the town, which means it's not CPF.
Well, no,
Right?
that, what are you talking about? This Dickinson Creek?
Yeah, yeah,
No, that's CPF and county. But
Here.
towards the end, there's the end of the road. I
You have
think
your
we
map
can
there?
do it.
I-
Christina's putting it up.
yeah,
You have
What do you
one
have?
right next to you, that's the map.
yeah.
Yeah, you're
So-
talking
so-
about number 2, parcel 2 in here?
No, I'm talking about 2410. 2410 was Tarkadle Acres transferred to Town of Shelter Island in 1981. Does that make sense to you or,
It was probably part of the subdivision.
yeah? Oh, so it was open space as part of the subdivision?
It's not showing up on my screen. I have your blue. There you go.
No, this is 2410 is what we just purchased.
Is it? That's
Yeah.
next to Mr. Dickerson's house.
Yeah.
Now
Yes,
it's
yeah.
working.
Okay,
Yeah, that's
so
what
I
we
must
just
have an
purchased.
old, I must have
Yeah.
the wrong. And then
Yeah,
that's 2410. Okay, and then 2413 is one that we need to check out in more detail. If that is CPF. And
that's
then,
not CPF.
no,
It's
2413.
within Grace, it's within the road structure itself.
2413 is owned by the town.
That's where, what's his face wanted to put his boat. Remember Bert wanted to come in?
Oh, okay.
That's on that piece of
The
property.
police boat is there.
No, the police boat is right up in front
Yeah,
of it.
so that's,
Right.
BJ, I think that's where we can put it.
Right,
Yeah.
It'd be partially on the road there.
right, which is pretty
Yeah.
wide at the end. I
Yeah.
was just down there,
Yeah.
so.
Yes.
So what I'd like to do with this one is on the 23rd, we have the Bayman coming in. So
Mhm.
maybe we can ask the oyster people to come back.
Right.
Let's,
That's where Grace's Lane is.
yeah,
You-
in other words, this is the end of the road. This is-
Yeah, that bulkhead goes all the way to the end of that property, by the way, that new bulkhead.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
no, it's beautiful down there. And that's what we're
No,
getting.
we're getting off we're not the CPF property, but then south of that is the road itself.
Yeah.
We might be able to do something there.
Right, right. And that's another discussion that kind of goes with this oyster.
Yes,
Which,
Yeah.
what should be allowed
right.
on CPF property, even I'm speaking of existing CPF property. There's a discussion of what we're going to put in steward plans as we buy future.
Yeah.
But the old properties are not, I guess there can be an argument that, do they have to be sterilized? It was a lively maybe do you want to handle it at the end when we go do town board? I
Yeah.
can tell you about the conversation at
Yeah.
CPF. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna put that, Christina, for the 29th, when the Baymen are coming, we'll we
23rd?
invite the oyster people.
23rd or 29th.
29 is when I have the Baymen coming.
You do?
Right, that's
Okay.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Okay,
I will make sure I have better.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
so that we're
Mhm.
on firm ground.
yeah. Okay. Okay, next on the agenda is the FOIL website page and procedure. We've been, I don't want to say inundated, but we've gotten a whole lot more FOIL requests than ever. Meg's been trying to organize it for us to make it easier for all the departments to follow through on the requirements. So Meg, you want to walk us through it?
Yeah, so what we've done is we've created a new page on the website specifically. Yeah, you can share it. That'd be great. Specifically for foils. So it has all the information relating to how to get a foil to the town. So in order to get there, you go to government. And then down at the bottom, it says request for records or foil. And then the page looks like this. So you have the Freedom of Information Law, which will tell you what the law is. It'll read out the law. And then if you need to foil the police department, then there's an application there, or you can go directly to the police department webpage where they have a fill-in application. To foil the building department, their application request is right here. And then there's a new email, foilbuilding@shelterislandtown.gov. So that will go directly to the building department in a special FOIL email so that it doesn't get lost in the general shuffle of their primary email box. And then same thing for any other town record that would go through the town clerk's office. So their application is here along with the new email, which is foiltownclerk@shelterislandtown.gov. And so now there's a separate email box for all of the FOIL requests. So if you have a request for records, then you would send it to either the police department if it's police specific, building department if it's building specific, anything and everything else goes to the town clerk. And then, we have streamlined our internal processes to help expedite the response to the FOIL requests. But this is the part that the public needs to know. It's like, this is a new resource for you.
So Dottie has always been the FOIL officer. And then I think it was last year, or the year before, Chief Reed asked if they can do the police on their own. So he became a FOIL officer. And now we have Reed Karen as the building department FOIL
Yeah.
officer. Okay.
Because the building department gets a lot of FOILs and it's easier for them to answer most of them directly as opposed to having it go through the clerk's office. Because if
Right.
someone's just requesting a C of O for their property or a copy of their survey, then there's really no need for that to go through the clerk's office and burden them. So we're going to have it more streamlined in that sense. So
But-
we have the public hearing set up to appoint the building department FOIL officer essentially.
Okay, but again, for the majority of requests for town information will go through the town clerk's office.
Right.
Okay.
Before you leave the topic, just one comment on. Couldn't resist. The town is committed to doing a lot of things, and we have an agenda that's very, very ambitious, and we're trying to get this done. And this involves more than just the town board. This involves everybody that works for the town, including the town clerk's office. The only thing I could say is we're not looking to hide anything or keep anything from the public. But when you make a FOIL request, and what we're finding from many of the requests is that they're so open-ended and so general that they're requiring an inordinate amount of time and energy and effort and expense. And it's taxpayer expense. Make no mistake about that. But you have to spend literally dozens and dozens and dozens of hours tracking down years, decades worth of information. It's unfortunate. For the few people that have, I'm going to say, declared war on the town board and think that by just foiling us to death is the way to go. I personally think that's a bad tactic. I think FOIL definitely has a place. I think if you need a specific piece of information, definitely go through the channels. We'll gladly provide it for you. But my urge to the community is, without exposing all these people that are putting us through these extraordinary hoops to go find this tremendous amount of information, folks, as I said in the paper a week and a half ago, let's work together. We're committed to getting things done, and we're not in the business of hiding anything from anybody. So all I would ask you in the future is when you do make a FOIL request, please try to be as specific as you possibly can in the FOIL request in order for us to be able to turn that around quickly and not get involved with a tremendous amount of workload for a particular department. I thank you for your cooperation, and I hope that the words are said in a positive way. Thank you.
Good. Thanks, Jim. Okay, next on the list, we got a letter from the Shelter Island Fire Department Ladies Auxiliary. Town board members, we are asking for permission to once again hold our annual Easter egg hunt on the corner of Cartwright Road and Burns Road, known as St. Gabe's Meadow, on Saturday, April 16th, 2022, from 11:30 a.m. until 2:15 p.m., with Sunday, April 17th as our rain date. Once approved, I will send a copy of our insurance coverage for the day. Please let me know if you have any questions. Dottie, do we need a permit or a resolution or anything for this, or?
I thought you probably need a resolution. I don't know whether you want an outdoor assembly permit or not.
I mean, what have you done in the past? Just the resolution?
Right.
That's
Let
good.
Is there a need for police presence or anything like that, or is this like a small enough?
Well,
group that it's
probably
not a problem?
Those
traffic.
toddlers get awfully out of control.
Yeah.
It's a tremendous event because my grandkids have taken advantage of it along with hundreds and hundreds of other kids here on the island. It's wonderful. It really is.
There might be traffic, you know.
Well, that's what I was saying,
Yeah.
traffic,
Yeah.
parking, are people parking on Plenawickus and walking over? How
Right,
is that
yeah.
Is
coordinated?
Chief Reed on today?
No, he
Don't
had to
see
go to a
him.
meeting up island.
All right.
So-
But we
take
can
care of
handle that.
We can
Yeah.
handle that
Yeah.
internally. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
So
Next on
just
the list is,
just do a resolution then, right?
yeah, I think
Yeah.
so, Dot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, we'll do that today.
Next on the list is the wetlands and special permit review for completeness. Is Stephen gonna talk to this, Meg? Were you gonna
So,
talk to this?
so what's been brought to light is that when we receive wetlands and special permits, Lori LBR used to review them. So Lori Beard Raymond would review them before they went out to all the different committees and departments that needed to see them. So what we need to do is sort of assign a new person to take care of that task. So I was thinking of approaching the building department and putting Reed in charge of doing or the clerk of the building department in charge of doing the primary review for completeness as far as like a clerical review goes, before everything goes out to the committees.
You creating a checklist for them?
Of course,
And a flow
it's part
chart.
of the
And a
application.
flow chart.
A flow chart, a checklist, yeah. Because right now, there's really nobody designated to that specific task, so.
So what's involved procedurally to get this in place?
I think it's
policy.
just talking to them. and
Just
creating
policy?
Policy.
Okay,
Yeah.
And,
So-
and just so you're aware, other municipalities do that. Gatekeeper for most everything is the building department and the building inspector.
mhm.
So it makes sense. Yeah.
So-
And it does make sense to have this done,
That way, when
You
the,
catch a lot.
yeah, so I'll talk to
Let's
Reed.
save a lot of
and-
time for the
Yeah.
applicants too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Talk to Reed and coordinate with him. That way, they're not getting requests from different people.
Right.
CAC says you're missing this.
Yes,
WMAC says you're missing this,
Yeah.
just, it'll streamline it.
okay, good. Next is, there's Don. Boy, what timing? Wow. Next is the Senior Citizens Foundation. We have our senior lunch program at the Presbyterian Church. We've signed a lease agreement with them that we will take care of. We're obligated to fix any equipment that we use that breaks or anything. But Don, your timing is unbelievable. We just brought this up. So Don D'Amato's joined us to represent the Senior Foundation. He just got bumped. Oh, there he is. Okay, so we've been in discussions, the Senior Foundations,
Found this one.
Foundation is talking about contributing to this. Don and I and Brian met on the phone to go over it. Don's been away. But Don, you want to speak to this?
I'm not really prepared to do so. Chris, of course, has been leading the effort. So I've done a little bit of a background investigation, as you mentioned, Jerry, but I'm not sure I want to speak to it if you don't mind.
No, I got to be honest. I was kind of surprised it was on the agenda because I knew we were waiting to get to sit down together. No, so it's really just a heads up that, the kitchen needs some updates, but we have to discuss who's responsible for it and how we're paying for it and how
Yes.
far we want to go with it.
Brian, of course, has received a couple of quotes, which he gave me copies of yesterday. So these are from an outfit called the Bar Boy. One is for their off-the-shelf equipment, if you will, standard. And the other one is for custom, that is, I presume, resizing the equipment to fit the space optimally. So I have a copy of those quotes. If you want to hear those numbers, maybe Brian has mentioned it.
Yeah, I heard him, but I don't think we're ready for that. I think we have to come to an agreement of what our needs are and who's paying for what.
Right, agree.
Okay. All right. So Don, I think you guys at the foundation has a meeting this week.
We do. We have a meeting on Thursday at 1.
All right. So maybe you and I and Brian can get together before that.
Okay, that'd be fine.
All right. So we'll do that and then we'll come back to the work session and let you know. All right, Don, thanks very much. Thanks for jumping on.
Sure. Thanks, Jerry.
Okay, that's it for the actual agenda. So Christina, for the March 29th meeting, we're going to have the Bayman and the Oyster people. I'd also like to invite the Pilots Association and the neighbors of the Clenowickas Airfield. We had said a while ago, we would get everybody together and, see what concerns the neighbors had
I
or
like that.
what plans the pilots had for the airfield. So we'll put that on for the 29th and try to invite everybody.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we'll do it all. Yeah. Okay. Okay, we'll go around the table. Jim?
Just two quick things. Just came back by Shelter Island Country Club this morning. The town is working along with the club up there on the 9-hole golf course, doing a lot of work. The driving range has all been addressed. A lot of debris around the netting has all been taken down. They've expanded about a 50-foot buffer around the outside of the net where we're mulching and cleared back all the junk that was there. So golf balls will be a little bit more visible. We're putting new netting up. There's some major work being done and cleanup between the second green and the third tee box where all the down trees were, and there was a lot of debris in there. So I saw Ken Lewis this morning, and guys working in there dumping mulch. They've taken all the invasives out of there and put mulch in there. Actually, the course looks, and I talked to the people up there. They're really very satisfied with the approach the town has with the country club. They're trying to get that golf course in better shape. So they have some good ideas, and I think I suggested to them that we ever formalized a plan, an actual golf improvement plan for the course itself, which is something that I know Gardner's Bay has, for their 18-hole golf course, and they follow that plan pretty religiously.
Before you move on, there was a very generous donation to the golf club for the new netting for the driving range. And that's one of the impetus that we cleaned all the way around it,
Nice.
behind it. And the other thing is we're taking advantage of doing landscaping at the golf course to get rid of some of our mulch.
Yes.
Because we have just too much,
Yeah.
product that we have to get rid of. So Brian's taking advantage of, it's a win-win. We're getting rid of this product and using it on town property.
While we're on landscape there, a lot of the old evergreens, the pine trees are in bad shape. A lot of them have snapped in half or snapped, major
Yeah.
branches off. And some of the trees along West Neck, have become problems with wires and things like that. I know probably 4 or 5 years ago, they planted those evergreens at the top of the hill, but they didn't water them and they kind of just went by the wayside. I don't see evergreens right in that particular spot. If we do any kind of upgrade like that, obviously we have to water them, to keep them
Yeah.
alive because, and they have done a great job, by the way. If you go over to Dickinson Pond and you take a look at that stretch of, of trees that we planted, looks beautiful. If you go out on Cobbetts, they've done the same thing. They've done the same thing up at the Nostrum, putting the trees up there. So I love the fact that they're, old trees are dying, new trees are going in, and we're moving the trees back further from the road, so they're not right up on the road, which is all good stuff.
Yeah,
So-
Brian's in the process of putting out a bid for a tree spade to come in and move a lot of the trees from the West Neck Preserve to some of the other town
Nice.
locations.
Last night, we the CAC met 7:30 here last night. All 7 members were in attendance. We had 5 here in person. We had 1 Zooming in. We had 1 calling in. It was a productive meeting. We passed the agenda, the minutes from last meeting. I provided an oversight on the major projects at Real Point, Crescent Beach, Municipal Wastewater Treatment Plant, Fresh Pond, the wastewater reuse program up at the Heights, and also we gave them a little bit of a background on the Suffolk County Water Authority because they're all interested in those topics about water. So that went pretty well. Under old business, we talked about the different properties that we have to visit. There are 7 properties that we need to be addressed. They include, but are not limited to, Wade's Beach, Mashomick, and I don't know to what degree we're doing any kind of walking 2,039 acres. Garcia property, Shell Beach, which I'll take care of, Ice Pond Preserve, Sachem's Woods, and 1 other. But we'll start to revisit those properties and make some recommendations back to the town. As you remember, in Satcham's Woods, we did a recommendation a couple of years ago, which we implemented on putting in the boundary markers, so that, so with concrete posts so that we actually know where the property begins and ends. We also welcomed Dan and Roxanne. They were both there at the meeting. The Sapon staircase has been done. We talked a little bit about the wetlands codes a little bit and how we need to address them. I gave them copies of the code. And Coco went over SharePoint with them. So he introduced the committee to SharePoint. And they did talk about the problems at Crab Creek. I think John Riley brought that up about major problems at Crab Creek with a lot of flooding, lack of the Reach House that where it used to go through, where it used to flow back in there is all clogged up. So the amount of water doesn't, it's not being flushed properly, and water's being trapped in it. And there's a lot of erosion along that area. So maybe one day we need to go out there and take a little bit of look at that.
Is that on the dredging list?
It hasn't been dredged in a while. I think the last dredging we did down there, the problem with that is the dredging that goes along that area of the island. Like if you take a look at property, I'm trying to think down next to the Astons where the guy's got the little thing that
Yeah.
goes in there.
Yeah.
The name
The
escapes.
basin, yeah.
Jim Royer, the Royer property.
Mhm.
They dredged that, and within the next storm or two, it filled right back in. So the problem there is that, is trying to control, once you've dredged it, how to maintain the opening so that it, in fact, water flows in and out. Otherwise, you spend a lot of money. And by the way, the same thing came up about Highbury Lane. So we ended up spending and renting machinery to go down there. 1 or 2 storms later, it's completely closed now. It's not completely closed. So,
That's flushing at high tide.
yeah. You have
But
to have
nowhere near what it was.
extreme high tide.
Yeah.
And the other thing that we talked about is your dad brought it up, Peter brought it up about the only way you can go down is the far end on the east end of the pond there and actually run a pipe, open up a pipe and run it right out and get a little flushing going out that way as well. Because the water quality at that east end of that marsh is in bad shape. Yeah, it really depends on how much flushing it gets. So that was about the extent of the meeting. Thank you.
Okay, just one thing, Dottie, on the nature preserve system, we're gonna have to see, in 1999, we did a resolution to make Mashamik part of the nature preserve system. So we just have to see if there's any kind of plan in place,
Yeah.
that's nature preserve plan.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
That's it.
Egg,
We had a comp plan meeting last night where we went over the vision statement. What we're doing is we're not finalizing any drafts of anything yet. We're only going to have a final of the entire complete plan. So we have semi-final drafts that we are working off of, and we'll edit them as we need to as we go through the process. But right now we have a semi-final draft of the vision statement, of a guiding principles document that we're going to use to help us as we create the goals and the implementation plan for each section of the policy. So those will be posted to the website so you can see them. And we also have the semi-final draft of the outline. So that's what we're going to be basing the rest of our work off of. The next meeting is on the 28th, March 28th. And we will be going over the current vision of Shelter Island as it is now in 2022. So with our previous consultants, we had worked on the current vision of Shelter Island as of 2020, but it's been some time. So now we can update. We have the census, we have pre-COVID and post-COVID information. So we're going to update that. So we're going to try to have that updated by the March 28th meeting. It'll be posted for you to see before the meeting. And then after we get that in there, it's semi-final draft. We're going to move on to actually addressing the different topics of the comprehensive plan. So that's kind of our move going forward.
Good. You stayed so on topic. It was great.
yeah.
And that's all I got.
I have CPF. Yesterday
Okay.
morning was CPF. And good conversations on a bunch of different topics. But let's start with the money. There's 11 million plus in CPF funds. Of course, negotiations are always ongoing, so we can't say that, there's 11 million immediately available, but there's 11 million right now. Some of it might be, what's the word I'm looking for? Committed in the near future. And WQI has an additional 2.5 million. So there's that.
Does that stack up historically is that the most we've ever had? or-
Yeah.
Oh, I think
The
so.
last 3 months, we took in over $500,000 each month.
Right, right. I was off a little bit, I think, in the last month, but that's a heart of winter. I think it tends to slow down a little. Yeah, and last year was a record-breaking year by millions, by a couple of million.
Yeah.
The acquisition plan, sort of like I think this is an update of the stewards/acquisition plan is the beginnings of getting it together to present it to the town board. And it's a big job. I mean, it's a big job. So it won't be any time in the immediate future, but hopefully June. I mean, and if they come in before then, that's great too. Then a very interesting conversation about use on CPF lands. Now, this was not really talking about the wastewater treatment at Glen, not that. It's more if somebody wants to play soccer on a field, if for educational purposes. And then there's this fine distinction was made between educational purposes such as the public school, or I guess a non-for-profit private school versus a person who runs a little, daycare that pays themselves. I guess that would be a for-profit.
It had to do with the application for
More, yeah,
summer programs using.
right. But I thought it was an awfully fine distinction
Mhm.
there. But it was the reason for the fine distinction, I don't think should be ignored, which is, does it set a precedent then that CPF lands can be used by for-profit enterprises? And what do you do about that? But then interestingly, I'm going to forget her name and I apologize. The representative from Peconic Land Trust spoke, and Melanie, and said that this happened, the story. Southampton, surf instruction allowed at the beach. It turned out the parking was a nightmare. All the moms coming at the same time, then they're having coffee, then there's no parking for anybody else. So they adjusted. They just said, okay, then this has to happen during only these hours. And the parking only has to happen, again, during these hours, and limited it so that the surf instruction, which is a service to the people of Southampton, could continue to happen. The person giving the surf instruction is making money, obviously, but it's not disrupting the lives of the rest of the community. So she suggested to think about it in those terms. Also, that the Peconic Land Trust, I think she was saying there's some farmlands that people want to use for weddings. And so they write, it's sort of a policy, okay, 2 times a year, first come, first served. And yeah, there is a fee involved because it is a way to raise a little bit of money for I just
That money goes to the CPF.
Yeah. I think, so this is just, or the CPF maintenance even.
The stewardship,
Right,
yeah.
stewardship.
Yeah.
Support the stewardship.
Right. So these are all topics. I think that the CPF, they were down a few members. So this conversation is not over, but I think they'll come to us at some point with what they feel maybe some guidelines should be.
Mhm.
I think it's important that they look at how the county views it too, and how the
Yes.
county lets their CPF lands be used,
Yes.
as well as our neighbors. Because, the land does get used. It's for public,
Yeah,
it's for conservation, but it's also for the public.
absolutely.
So-
And I think Gordon was going to get in touch with his contact at the county to see if there is a county sort of rubric in place already for that. Last thing is, Joe Denny shared a great trail map that is on the North Fork that he'd like to sort of start getting working on for here. And he's going to get together with Bo and try to get that started. That was it.
Stephen?
Yeah, I just want to chime in on the use of CPF properties. You really have to look at the CNRs that are attached to each property and see what the language allows for in those CNRs. And the town has to come up with a policy going forward, what uses you want to incorporate into those CNRs. So like a lot of times the county and the towns are different with what they want to allow. So you have to come up with a global policy of what you feel is warranted to be used on CPF properties.
Does it have to be global or can you not? Because we have, I say going forward global, but how about our historical properties? Can we not have a spreadsheet that says this property?
Oh, no. You
you know,
can hear, like,
You can
make it
specify
specific
it per
Yeah,
property.
yeah.
towards the, the attributes of the property.
Right.
But you need to have like a global policy of what you want. Do you want it purely sanitary and just to be for the squirrels and that's it?
Right.
Or do you want some more public use? Do you want, I know in other municipalities that are more ag in nature, they allow farming and active farming. And then what can you do on that farm? Can you have weddings in connection if it's marketing your crops?
Right.
You really have to visit this, and it's very important. It's very important.
Mhm.
And one other thing, if you look at
Stephen, can they ever be amended on properties that you've already purchased? Can you look at that and go back and?
I believe it would require a public referendum if we
Okay.
had to change language,
All
but
right.
I'd be interested to see what exists now on the properties, because you
Yes,
had to,
yeah.
you stripped the right to develop, obviously.
Right.
So
right.
what else did you strip and what are you allowing? And that really controls.
Mhm.
And then if you look at 50-6, management of lands, public accessibility, lands acquired under this chapter shall be administered and managed in a manner which, preserves the native biological diversity, but allows for public use and enjoyment in a manner that's compatible with the natural, scenic, historic, and open space character of such lands. And then it says, with regard to open space, limits improvements to enhancing access for passive use of such lands, such as nature trails, boardwalks, bicycle paths, peripheral parking, provided that such improvements do not degrade the ecological value. So, and also you got to look at the plan. That had to have been a community preservation plan that was adopted.
It was, and they're updating that. But yeah, we need
Okay.
the original until that's updated, like the comprehensive plan, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so
that's
an
my 2
example of
cents.
this is the Easter egg hunt.
Mhm.
So the little kids want to have their Easter egg hunt on the St. Gabe's Field, which
Right.
is
CPF.
right, a CPF property. But we also have the chicken barbecue on that property. There are a whole bunch of other things that happen. So, the kids wanted to play soccer on that property, and that's where the question came up. Well,
Mm.
are you allowed to play soccer there? Well, if you're allowed to have an Easter egg hunt and a chicken barbecue, I don't see why you wouldn't be allowed to play soccer. But
Mhm.
that's the kind of thing that we need to clear up.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of thing that, those are the questions we need answered.
Unless you were going to bring soccer goals in and things of that, and we'll start lining fields and.
And do we-
Right.
and do we
Right.
want to make a distinction between profit and non?
So, yeah, these are just the questions. and these are
But
the
in this
triggers.
particular hypothetical, first you look to the CNR on the property. And
Mhm.
Right.
that's going to tell you what you can do and what you can't do on it. And then if there's any questions, you look to the plan to give you some guidance. So.
I noticed that with the case of Mashamik, like there are no trails out to Mashamik Point, and that's for a reason. Part of that 2,039 acres is designated for wildlife. There's no trail that goes out there. They sponsor 1 or 2 hikes out there per year under controlled circumstance where they open that up. There are other parts of that 2,039 acres. They tell you to stay on the trail. You're not to deviate from the trail. You can't go just walking across the meadow. There are trails there for a reason. They want you to stay on the trails for your own safety and for insurance purposes. They don't allow running in there. But then when the COVID came in and they started to open that thing up a little bit where people started coming 6:30 in the morning. Now the place doesn't open till 9. It was always 9 to 4 or 5, depending on the time of the year. But now it was dawn to dusk. And they were because they were getting an inordinate amount of people on the Mashamik property. Sometimes you saw the parking lot, which is expanded, is full, and they're parking on Route 114. So things change. Dogs coming into the park. I've heard a number of times where people say, yeah, but my dog's on a leash. I'm sorry, they don't allow dog. Bicycles, the big thing was mountain bikes. Wanting to come in, I don't care. And I've had people take off on a mountain bike where I had to call Mike Glaspie to go out in his truck and cut the people off and say, by the way, we don't allow bikes out here, and it is hazardous. People of all different skill levels that go out there. But when you go on the red trail with the root system and rocks, and you don't have a helmet, you don't have pads, you're not equipped to be on that property to safely bike. So things have changed and been modified over there through the years. And I think it is a dynamic situation where things do change. And COVID was a perfect example of where I thought that the people at Mashonack started to realize they need to open up earlier, close later, accommodate people, expand the parking lot, allow certain things like jogging, get people off the streets. Would you rather have them jogging in Mashonack, or would you rather have them jogging along 114? I mean, it's just a lot safer. So, I think we have to look at that kind of situation as well.
Mhm.
Times change.
Mhm.
Anything else?
That's it.
Stephen, you have anything?
No.
No. Okay, open it up to the audience.
It's more of a suggestion. When you talk about community housing, the question I get most often from the Hay Beach residents at different meetings is, how many units, what's the goal, say, over the next 2 years would you like to have? How many people are you hoping to accommodate? And then before you answer it, and then the criteria. And you get the question in like 9 or 10 different ways. We're not involved in any way in that issue. But I think when you're trying to put the plan together and you're going to be trying to promote it, to vote on it, if people understand the size of it, like they asked me when I was on the housing board, what was the goal? It was do 4 the first year, get 4 the next year. And as Jerry well knows, we got shot down even after we found the properties in the place because they didn't want it in their backyard. All of that has changed now. Now it's on the other side. More people want it. Almost everybody wants to see more community housing. But the last piece of that is they ask in terms of density. Are you talking about individual homes, 2-family homes, which are pretty much people accept, versus, the little like gated communities without the gates?
Yeah.
Large
Large apartments.
Yeah. Now I know from East Hampton where they have like 200 units that they put together, they got to wait. I mean, it's been very popular. They got a waiting list of like 2,000
They're
people.
over 500 units.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many now?
I think in East Hampton, they're over 500. I think.
500 now. When they first put them up, they had this waiting list, an
Yes.
enormous
they
wait
still
list.
do, yeah.
But those criteria, I realize you can't get it perfect, but if you can get that out early on in the message, it will help people to begin to visualize what it might look like. And I think there'll be more understanding, more support versus, and people ask about the criteria. You can well imagine what people think about, who's going to be available, who's going to be eligible for these properties. And it's a wide range that I've heard mentioned by various people, and they have to see it that way. There's no preference thing where, let's say employees of the town come first, somebody else comes second, but some kind of criteria. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm sure there are previous examples of where this has worked, because that's a topic that's, as you know, you're promoting more and more. It's getting hot, and everybody's kind of guessing at things. And it's, being that I'm not actively involved, I'm just making that as a suggestion. And Jim,
Patrick,
just a comment.
Really good.
That's a basic, that's a real thing. I mean, we are, we're never going to meet the demands. I think the demands on the East End are tremendous in terms of
In
housing.
the country.
In the country, you're never going to meet those demands. We want to start slow. We want to make sure that what we do is good.
Shelter
And
Island Taylor.
yeah, Shelter Island tailored. We don't have a number like a big, huge number of things to do.
No, and I knew that, but when
Yeah.
you talk to people, they hear these other numbers from, Southampton, East Hampton, as we well know, they're much larger. Yeah.
And Patrick, that's one of the things we've charged the community housing board with is, let's get out in the public and explain what it is we're looking to do and the numbers. One of the issues that's come up, and it's come up recently in Southold, is we thought as long as we didn't take federal money, we weren't obligated to open it up to anybody.
Oh, but you are.
Apparently with community housing laws, or
The
fair
Fair
housing
Housing
laws, it has to be open to everybody. So in Southold, they have a new plan going forward, and the vote was 4-1. The supervisor voted against it because he felt we can't guarantee it's going to go to the people of Southold that need housing.
That's right. As soon
That's
as
gonna
you
be
say you're going to have affordable housing here, a lot of people would want to be here, particularly those on the South Fork who are nearby, or the North Fork.
Right.
Now, who wouldn't want to have an opportunity, right?
So that's something we're gonna have to figure out how to address.
No, it's a legitimate point. You were going to say something else. Okay.
I just wanted to make a couple points. We don't have any empirical data yet to work from. So, and that's why we have these RFPs going on. I'm going to do a community housing needs assessment, get some data. And then also with the DGEIS, as far as density, can we absorb any density, higher density, and where on the island would that be? So that's going to be part of the DGEIS. So hopefully, very shortly, we'll have the RFP out and we can hire somebody to do those studies. And then we'll have the empirical data to put into, the study that and the plan that the Community Housing Advisory Board and the Community Housing Board, they're going to undertake.
And we've chatted very briefly. When you're looking at doing the RFPs, take, and I know you're going to do this, take a look at other RFPs that people are doing, like we were talking about Gardeners Bay,
Yep.
and see if they could be combined and cut down, one, the cost, but two, get the feedback that's consistent across the board for the aquifer. I know last night, listening to the conversation, the word aquifer was removed from something and moved to another spot. But
That's
that
a concern. I mean,
there's a number of RFPs people are talking about. And, some of them fit very nicely with the others. And being that you're looking at and you have the experience, see if possibly they can combine them. You were mentioning Gardeners Bay, the irrigation system that they want to put in. We've
I'm not sure I'm comfortable with that, Mr. Clifford, the combining of them, because it almost puts us on one side.
they're taking the water. Everybody's taking the water, as you know, from the
Well,
same aquifer. I'm saying when you ask for the DEC or whoever's doing the study, you're basically saying, take a look at these different pieces.
Right.
But if there's any consistency to it, you want to know about it. You don't want to learn about them one at a time. That's the little bit of feedback I've gotten. I'm not an expert in that area, but I know there's a number of these floating around, and we even suggested that we take a look at what you're doing, and if there's something that would fit into it, why not? All you're getting is scientific feedback.
Right.
What you do it is you're making the decision.
Right, truth. Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Patrick.
Okay. Anybody else in the audience want to speak on Zoom? Just got to hit the hand button. Julia?
I have a question. It has to do with the timeline for the community housing. And it has to do with the actual plan and what the timeline for developing that plan is. Is there a deadline to produce the plan in time for the referendum?
We've charged the housing board. We're trying to have it to us midsummer so we can get it in place before the
July.
before the referendum. But technically,
The question is there a legal deadline? No,
Julie, sorry to cut you off. Pursuant to New York Tax Law 1449-BB2, it's the fund that is necessary before you can put the transfer tax up for referendum, the fund, not the plan. However, you cannot expend any monies from within that fund unless you have the plan.
Okay, so
So
that's
the-
more of an internal thing, not, the plan isn't what's being voted on in November. It's whether or not to fund using the 2% tax.
No. What's the referendum is, should we charge that tax?
Correct.
Exactly. So it's
That's
not
the
that
question.
nobody's voting on the plan.
No,
Only
no,
the
no, no.
town board accepts the plan.
No, and there will be a public hearing in connection
course.
with the plan because it has to be adopted by a local law.
Okay,
So
perfect.
the
That
public
was
will
my
have-
understanding. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, and then the deadline, I think, is August 8th for the referendum, because that's 3 months before the election. And the-
No, again, it's the fund has to be in place prior to the referendum. And the fund, we're going to have, 6 months beforehand or 4 months beforehand, something like that.
Great, okay.
Approximately 5 months beforehand.
Yeah. May 17th, formally introduce the community housing transfer tax.
Great. Thank you very much. If you could share that list of dates, it'd be very helpful.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, we'll get it right to you.
You're the best.
okay. Anybody else? Okay, I'm gonna make a motion. We go into special, to a special meeting. I have to sign the waiver. This is to take, we did a tremendous amount of resolutions in set hearings on Friday night, and these are some more that we have to get done.
Yes, thank you.
Seems like an awful lot all at once, so.
You can give him, no, just keep this one. Give him- BJ, hand this to Susan, please. Thank you.
Just give us a minute. We're just getting the signatures together for the special meeting. And I,
Sign on the wrong line?
You did.
Oh, sorry.
those people that are going to be hanging on, I would say we're probably going to be, there's a couple dozen at least
Yeah.
of these resolutions. So I'm counting. Counting everybody has probably 5 or 6 or so times 4. I'm thinking we have about 24 resolutions to go.
Do you want to do the Easter egg hunt?
Do the what?
The Easter egg hunt?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay.
so you want me to start, Joe?
Sure.
I'm not seeing the one for the.
We're ready to go, guys?
Hold on, Jim.
Shoreline access.
You have shoreline access?
I'll only know as I go through them. I have the mooring one.
Okay.
I have the egg hunt.
We all.
They're all the same.
Oh, we all have the same
We all have
ones?
the same ones.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Conroy.
We all have the same.
Oh, I thought they were all different. I'm sorry.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
All right.
Wait, so let's go through
I
this.
think this is for, yeah. So we're gonna do Conroy on
Okay, yeah.
April 8th.
Yeah. Don't,
Okay, so should I? put-
So there's not as many as I thought then if we all have the same ones.
right. Don't do that.
Don't do that one.
Okay.
Gotcha.
All right, so we only have maybe a half a dozen.
Okay.
Want me to start, gang?
I got you.
Yes?
So
Ready.
here, wait, before you start, let's
Yeah,
just
but-
make sure we're all doing the right ones, okay?
Yeah.
So I've got the employee handbook.
Mhm.
You have that?
Yep.
I do. I have that one.
Oh, okay.
MOU, moorings MOU,
Yep.
Mhm.
appointment for Kim Riley,
Yes.
Mhm.
Title VI,
Yep.
Mhm.
Lexipol for the police department.
Yep.
The Pentaflex,
I got that, yes.
the Easter egg hunt.
Can I do the Easter egg hunt?
Lexipol's been done twice.
You have.
I don't
Lexipol,
have. either.
I don't either. We're gonna have to go.
Easter egg hunt, I would like to add contingent on them filling out a public assembly.
Yeah, I
So hold off
reviewed
on
the
the
code.
Easter egg
I
hunt?
reviewed the code and they really should have
Okay.
outdoor assembly permit.
So hold
Meg.
up on the Easter.
Meg.
Yes,
Do
Yes,
not
Pat.
do Lexipol. It's been done twice already,
No,
so.
No,
Dottie, the one that you did was the Lexipol to pay for the program. This is the policy for the,
Oh, okay, I haven't seen that one.
it's
Okay.
the policy and procedure manual. It's adopting the manual
And what was the other one?
to pay for it.
we
It was
paid.
just the
Alright.
paying
All
of it.
right, okay.
So,
I'm right. So,
and then I have the budget transfers for the highway department,
There's nothing filled in here.
So- highway and landfill.
Yeah, I think you have a lot of unique ones.
So,
No, it's in here.
Stephen, I don't think we're doing this.
That's
no,
common.
that was.
No, no,
Okay,
that was supposed to be for, that is for April 8th.
Okay.
all right. So I'm going to start by doing the highway and the employee handbook.
Okay.
All right, be it resolved that the following highway, public works, landfill, 2021 budget transfers encumbrances are hereby approved. And there's 2 pages of them, 3 pages of them. So they're available at the town clerk's office if you want to see them. And
So moved.
They're there.
Okay, you want to?
They're mostly- Okay, so.
Okay, so move. Second.
All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Okay.
The next is a resolution to amend the employee handbook. We went over this at a work session a couple weeks ago. Whereas the town issued an employee manual on February 5th, 2021, and whereas certain portions of that manual are outdated or do not reflect the wishes of the town board, it is therefore resolved that section 701 of the employee handbook is amended to read as set forth below. And this one is 6 pages long. And what it does is it amends some of the holiday dates. It deletes the fact that you get your birthday off paid, and it does a few basic things. So this is also available at the clerk's office if you would like to see it.
Okay.
So, yeah, it is further resolved that the code of ethic, nope. Oh, that the code of ethics shall also be added as an addendum to the employee handbook. So this is also being added, I guess.
So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Can I do
Want me to
this
take
yet?
one?
Yeah.
Be it resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to spend the sum of $950 from the A1010.48 for Town Board Office and miscellaneous account to PenFlex Actuary Services at LLC PO Box 5670, Cortland, New York, 13045 for the preparation of the Gatsby 73 package and for the LoSAP program for the volunteer ambulance for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2021.
Two.
Okay. So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Whereas the Title VI is one of the 11 titles of the Landmark Civil Rights Act, whereas Title VI of the 1964 Civil Rights Act provides no person in the United States shall, on the grounds of race, color, or national origin, be excluded from participation in or be denied the benefits of or otherwise subjected to discrimination under any program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. And whereas the town board desires to ensure compliance with Title VI under any town service program or activity, and whereas the town board, in accordance therewith, desires to enact a complaint procedure for anyone who believes that they were subject to discrimination based on race, color, national origin, gender, age, income, disability, or limited ability to speak English. And now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby adopts a Title VI plan. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm gonna be resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to execute the online mooring memorandum of understanding MOU between the town of Shelter Island and Online Mooring LLC Company for the provision of its harbor management activities as per the MOU attached. Said initial term begins immediately upon execution of this agreement and lasts until 2 calendar years later on July 1st. This is subject to review by the town attorney. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are we doing yay cunt one?
BJ was going to amend it.
Yep. So
All right.
ready? Whereas the Shelter Island Fire Department Ladies Auxiliary has requested permission to hold their annual Easter egg hunt on the corner of Cartwright Road and Burns Road on the property known as St. Gabriel's Meadow on Saturday, April 16, 2022, from 11:30 a.m. until 2:15 p.m., with Sunday, April 17th as the rain date. Now therefore be it resolved that the Shelter Island Fire Department Ladies Auxiliaries request is hereby approved, subject to an application for the outdoor assembly permit and review by the police department. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
This is a resolution to adopt the Shelter Island Police Department Policy and Procedure Manual. Whereas the Shelter Island Town Board and the Shelter Island Police Department in September of 2020 embarked on a complete review of the police department's policies, procedures, rules, and regulations. Whereas the Shelter Island Police Department contracted with Lexipol Knowledge Management Systems to support the organizational review of the current operations manual and incorporate necessary current standards with new standards into digital policy and procedure manual. Whereas the police department has maintained continuous Department of Criminal Justice Services New York State accreditation from 2009 through the present date. Whereas this policy and procedure manual builds on the collaborative knowledge and wisdom that has been gained through the past 50 years of our department. Whereas this policy and procedure manual is written with guidance from local, state, and federal best practices, New York State accreditation model policies, and state and federal law. Whereas the environment in which police departments operate is ever changing. This document is also designed to have ongoing growth and flexibility to meet these challenges and changes. So be it resolved that the policy and procedure manual of the Shelter Island Police Department dated July 13th, 2021 are hereby approved. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Want to read that one?
Sure. Be resolved that Kim Riley is hereby appointed to serve as the clerk for the Deer and Tick Committee, Taylor's Island Committee, West Neck Water District for the year 2022 at a rate of $600 per committee per year. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Did we appoint Kim Riley?
Yeah,
I did.
just a-
Just did.
God, we're looking for the municipal bid.
Hmm.
I don't
So
have it.
says, please draft a resolution to auction off the following items.
That was sent out to all of you.
What was it?
What'd you say, Dot?
Sent out to all of
That was
us.
sent out to you. You had it, Meg.
Hold on one second.
Okay. Municipal bid.
Was it sent out today, Dot, or some other time?
Well, I saw Meg's today. I don't know when it actually went out.
Hold on.
Oh,
The language is incomplete
Okay.
is the problem.
Well, I got
That's
the list.
it,
I
but
don't
I have
have.
the same thing. It doesn't have the intro to the resolution.
Hmm.
All right,
So
I'll fudge it.
I do.
All
That's the
right.
front half.
Okay, Dottie, I'm gonna try to make this up because we can't find it. Be it resolved that the town highway superintendent is hereby authorized to put out to bid these items for sale. A steel FS 90R weed whacker, a steel FS 90R weed whacker, two steel 14-inch chainsaws MS 21T, one steel 14-inch chainsaw MS 192 TC, one 18-inch steel chainsaw MS 261C, a steel 18-inch chainsaw MS 261C, another one, same thing, 18-inch MS 261C, a steel BR 600 Magnum backpack blower, a steel BR 600 Magnum backpack blower, a 2002 Ford Explorer, VIN number 1FMZU 73E 62ZC 20085, and a 2014 Ford Explorer, VIN number 1FMJU 1G59EEF 30506. The auction of these items will start March 17th at 0800 hours and will end by March 31st, 0800 hours. So these are items that would not in use anymore, and we're going to try to recoup some money for them.
So moved.
So moved. Second,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
I think that's it.
That's the last one.
Okay, comments from the audience, questions? I think we did that already. So we're gonna go back into our regular town board meeting, and I'm gonna make a motion. We go into executive session to discuss with Gordon Gooding, potential purchase as well as
Legal advice.
legal issue
And one
Okay.
personnel issue.
and one personnel.
Yep.
Okay,
Second. Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Have a very nice day. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Thanks.